Now, Hong Kong legislators have backed down on a plan to introduce compulsory classes on moral, civic and national education to the city's public schools within 3 years. The government there has faced determined and widespread opposition from both students and teachers, involving serial demonstrations and even hunger strikes. Opponents say parts of the curriculum, which is backed by the mainland government, are nationalistic and skewed in favour of the Communist Party, amounting, they say, to brainwashing and political indoctrination. Those in favour say it will simply teach civic and moral awareness and instil in students a sense of being part of China. Protests grew more strident as the implementation date, which was last Monday, drew closer. Then, in a surprise move, the city's chief executive, C.Y. Leung, announced a U-turn on Saturday and scrapped the 2015 compulsory deadline for every school to start teaching the course. While this in theory means the plan becomes optional, some opponents fear that schools may come under pressure to implement the syllabus and they want it dropped completely. Leung has promised to re-examine the entire plan in the light of the public outcry. So what do mainland net users, whose options of protest against the government are more limited, think about the outcome in Hong Kong? And how do they feel about this idea of national education in the first place? Well, to find out, let's check in with our researcher, Julie Liu, in the newsroom. Okay, Julia. Now, of course, students in the mainland have a similar component of the curriculum. Here it's called patriotic education, I believe, which goes right the way through from primary or elementary right through to university. Is that similar to what's been proposed for Hong Kong schools?
Well, not really. Patriotic education on the mainland does deal with the civil education, how the country and society works and so on. But it also has a lot of history as seen from the Communist Party point of view and a heavy dose of politics and political theory. It's often criticized for being biased and painting everything in black and white. Students are not left the choice to make up their minds, but are told what is right and wrong. On the other hand, there are many who say it teaches students to lie because they must pass it, and so they will write down what the examiners want, whether they believe it or not. But the national education proposed for Hong Kong is nowhere as extreme. The education department there says its aim is to increase Hong Kong citizens' sense of belonging to China, as well as a sense of responsibility and sense of citizenship identity based on their colonial history. So in addition to the political and historical parts that the protesters object to, there's a lot which is simply information about China's climate, geography, resources, and so on. However, it seems that with those nationalist and political issues, and of course the fact that the central government supports it, it's hard to remove the images of brainwashing from most Hong Kongers' opinions of the course.
Okay, presumably the fact that this isn't going to be mandatory now isn't necessarily going to please the mainland authorities. Has the controversy and the protests, have they been reported much here in the mainland media?
Well, half and half. It's not true to say it hasn't been reported, but it's certainly been played down. The phrase Hong Kong national education is indeed blocked in some social websites such as Weibo.com. But you can still find comments, and you can also search for it on Baidu.com, the most popular search engine. And by searching, you can find some news reports and articles published by different media. But the interesting point is that when I check the comments posted by the net users, they're quite varied. Some net users strongly support the Hong Kong protesters' ideas and admire their spirit and the free way that they express themselves. So comments like this one from Weibo.com are really common, saying, "Congratulations, Hong Kong, you did it, it's a victory." And it seems that this poster, Saffron from Sina.com, agrees, saying, "Hong Kong is always different from the mainland based on its history. Hong Kong citizens now have the right to choose what they want rather than be forced to accept something they don't like. So stop such unreasonable criticizing." While this poster, Bloom from Tianya.com, feels Hong Kong students are right to worry based on his experience. What have we learned from such similar lessons? Are they really true? I think most people know the answers in their minds now. Since Hong Kong people don't want their children to learn false information like us, they go onto the street, and I admire them. However, this poster here from Huanqiu.com doesn't think so. He says, I just think some Hong Kong citizens are so funny. Before Hong Kong came back, did children not have to study national education laid out by the British government? Did they even have to sing the British national anthem? Is that not brainwashing? And this poster, Tang Jiawen from my1510.cn also has his own opinion to say. I agree it's not right to propagandize political issues in textbooks, but can that be called brainwashing? I'm not sure about that. Even if students do get some false information in schools, they can still check on it in some other places, such as the internet. So no matter which way the national education goes, it doesn't mean the younger generation would simply accept it without questioning. Finally, this poster from 观察.com mentions something interesting. After returning to China, people expected that communication between the mainland and Hong Kong would make such situation become better. But in my view, with the coming of microblogs like Weibo, things just got worse. Mainland citizens might think Weibo provides them with better supervision, but for most Hong Kongers, all the negative information just makes them feel more disappointed about the mainland. Given this, it's not easy for Hong Kong citizens to think about the education plan positively.
Okay, well, mentioning communication, as that poster did, what effect do net users here in mainland China feel this will have on communication between the mainland and Hong Kong, which, to be fair, has seen some friction in the past?
Well, in fact, as some of those comments reflect, many net users think that the key point should still be about communication, as they feel a good relationship between the mainland and Hong Kong would benefit both sides. Here's a poster from Sina.com. To be honest, I really don't think the mainland wants to assimilate Hong Kong, but we do hope Hong Kong could identify more after returning to China. Yes, maybe we do have some problems, but what about Hong Kong? No one can deny that the mainland has made huge efforts to make Hong Kong better, but some Hong Kong people just can't see that and keep acting superior. That's one thing that makes many mainland citizens feel uncomfortable. And finally, this poster, Qiu Zhenhai from iPhone.com thinks both sides should be more inclusive, saying, I really think both sides should take a more inclusive attitude. On the one hand, the Hong Kong people should realize that they have returned to China for 15 years and they should learn some basic knowledge about the country. While on the other hand, the mainland people should also realize that Hong Kong is different, which means that they shouldn't try to use political means to replace human things. Everything needs a process, and national education is no exception.
Indeed. Thanks for that, Julia. And that was China Take researcher Julia Liu with online reaction to the decision to scrap that mandatory national education in Hong Kong, for the meanwhile at least.